Hello there. As you can see, I'm back home. I have played last round. In fact, it was a few days ago I played last round, so now I'm making the analysis. And well, as you can see, I have lost the game. I played against very strong opponent, which maybe she doesn't look so strong when you see her rating, but if you look at her tournament performance, then you see that in round one she had a victory over International Master. So I'm facing the opponent in the final round who beat the International Master in the first round. And this was a very interesting game. So I was white. We went into the French defense. I messed up in the opening. She had the advantage in the opening. Then I managed to exchange some pieces and equalize the position. So it was almost a dead draw. Then we went into endgame in which I was at one moment better. I had a better position in the endgame. And then again it was equal, and then I messed up and I lost the game. So I think it's very interesting and game and could be instructive to for you and of course for me as well. Okay, let's look the game up. So I played e4, she played e6, so we went into the French defense, d4 now of course, d5, and I'm just pushing, so I play e5 here. She played c5, so main line. I play c3, nothing spectacular here. She develops knight, I develop knight, so nothing worth commenting. And now she played this bishop to d7, which is a tricky move, because usually they play like queen to b6 immediately, and then I play my aggressive setup with bishop to d3. But once she played this bishop to d7, I don't have this trick of delivering the check with this discard attack, which is very famous in French defense. So this bishop on this bishop on d3 is not best placed bishop. So I have to alter my usual repertoire and play bishop to e2. And now she developed her knight, so a knight g to e7. And now, according to my, let's say, preparation, my way of playing, I don't have preparation. The idea, when she puts the knight here, she wants to go to f5 and seriously challenge my pawn. So the correct move here, and the move which I usually play, is knight to a3. So after she plays knight to f5, I can jump to c2, and now this pawn is protected. I had one game like this in this tournament already. So this is what I usually play. But now here I played something different. So instead of this, I castled. And after she played knight to f5, I played this unusual bishop to e3, protecting the pawn. So the engine doesn't like this move, but this is a playable move. The idea is if she grabs the bishop and okay, now she has a bishop pair, but the position is closed, so I don't mind. And then I take with the pawn. Suddenly she doesn't have any counterplay. So the whole counterplay of black is revolving around this d4 pawn, and now she doesn't have any counterplay, and I have open rook, which is not a bad thing given that I have to play on the king side. So you can see that my pawns are pointing on the king side. I want to attack on the king side, so having open rook on the f file is also a fine thing. So this is why here I play this bishop, although this is not something engine would recommend. Engine would recommend probably just to take d takes c5 and then continue the game. But okay, I play this and it's okay. Queen to b6, typical French move. And only now I played knight to a3 because I have to develop the knight. And here maybe she will take and now develop, and now I can develop the knight on c3. But since this didn't happen, so she played here queen to b6, so now I have to develop the knight, so knight to a3. She now took the pawn, okay, I took back, and she played knight to a5. Tricky move, which engine doesn't like, but I think it's a good move because she wants to exchange her light square bishop. So she's probably aiming to to exchange the light square bishop, maybe with the help of this pawn or something. So this is one idea. Another idea, if I move this knight somewhere, maybe she can jump on c4. The third idea is here I'm threatening this knight to b5, which can be tricky in some lines. So she's stopping this also. So I think it's a fine move. She can activate her knight later on. releases her bishop, and so forth. So I was thinking here what to do, and the problem is that this knight is under attack, and also now this pawn is under attack. By the way, here if she took the pawn, this kind of poisonous pawn, I will play this knight to b5, because if she's not careful enough, she could lose the queen very easily, because the knight is controlling the escape squares for the queen. So all I need to do is the attack the queen at, you know, maybe with one move preparation, something like this, and she's losing the queen. So it's very, very dangerous, very tricky, and also this comes with the tempo. So she didn't take this poisonous pawn here. So instead she played a knight to a5, and now the problem is, well, I would like to play b3, for example, just stopping, you know, taking control over c4 and stopping this weakness altogether. But you know, of course, if I play this, then I just blunder the knight. So I played rook to b1 just to protect this pawn for starter. She played rook to c8, and now I played the worst move in the game, besides the blunder, which in the end game, which led me to the last game. But the first positional move was queen to d2. And this is simply, you know, once again, a lack of concentration, lack of discipline. You know, I have my algorithm, I know what questions I have to ask myself, and one of the questions before making a move is, can my piece be attacked or harassed? And maybe I don't have to ask this question every time, but when I move the queen, I must ask this question. It's a very important question when you move the queen on some square, to ask yourself, can he attack my queen? Because this move comes with tempo and so on. So yeah, I just didn't ask this question, and of course she can attack the queen by developing her bishop. So this was a very, very bad move. I had some ideas, you know, supporting this, blah blah, but yeah, very, very, very bad move. It is connecting rooks and everything, but yeah, it all fails to this move. So bishop to b4, and now she's better. Now she has obvious advantage in the opening. She's better developed. Her pieces are more active. I have so many things hanging here, you know. This is potentially hanging. I cannot move my pawn. She can jump here. She's controlling the file. My bishop is hanging. So, you know, it's just she's better here, and it's now the position is very difficult to play. So I have to save my queen. So I played queen to d3, you know, taking care of this knight if she wants to take. And she was thinking here a lot, because now this knight to b5 is threat again. And she was probably thinking, you know, since everything is hanging in my camp, you know, can she somehow exploit this? And she saw that she can't, so she just played a6, and now I cannot move my knight. So yeah, I have a problem here, because I cannot move my knight. Maybe I could play in the knight here, but then yeah, again everything is hanging. So I decided to try to save myself from this, you know, difficult position in which I am worse, by exchanging pieces. Because if I manage to exchange her active pieces, and you know, these queenside pieces are very active, so I'm talking about her pieces. If I manage to somehow exchange them, then at least I will be equal, and it will not be like everything is hanging in my camp. So this is what I went for. So I played here bishop to d2, and here she took the knight. She thought for some while, and she took the knight. So now I can take immediately, or I can play this in-between move. You know, I'm afraid of in-between moves. I try to avoid them, because it usually leads to some kind of, you know, miscalculation and blunder. But here I took an effort. I calculated everything, you know, all possible threats, and I decided to play in-between move in order to exchange all of her active pieces. So I did play this bishop takes. She took the bishop, and now I take the bishop. And now what she can exchange queens, you know, and like ruin my structure, or she can just, you know, retreat to the queen. So she was thinking a lot, and she decided to take the queen. I took the pawn. I took the queen with the pawn. And now, yeah, I have slightly worse structure, but this is basically a draw. I had this exact position once in the long game, in which it was just the other way. So it was vice versa. So we exchanged queens on a6. So my opponent, so imagine that this pawn is here and this pawn is here, something like this. And it's just a draw. I had this in my last over the board tournament. So yeah, it's drawish position, but yeah, I mean, of course, you can play and hope for a mistake, and this is what we did. So here I'm attacking her pawn, so she just played b5 to protect the pawn. I'm bringing my last undeveloped piece in the game. She castles here, so of course I don't want to break the tension because then she will take the control over the file. So here I just expand on the king side and play g4. So here the strategy of expanding on the king side is looking forward to the end game and hoping that my pawns will be closer to the promotion than her pawns, and then maybe at some moment I can just take advantage of the fact that my pawns are a little bit closer. So I play g4 here, kicking her knight. She doesn't have much squares to go, so she went to e7. And now I'm looking to improve my piece, so you can see immediately this outpost is very nice, so I want to come to this outpost. And also she wants to come to this outpost, probably. So we are now just trying to improve the pieces, and she here decides to exchange rooks. So she took the rook with check, I took. She put another rook here, check, and now she took with the knight, because she wants to put her knight here. And here I offered the draw. So after the rooks, actually technically it was here. So I played check. I know she has to take back, and I offered the draw because yeah, I was thinking, okay, she's a strong opponent. This is the last round. I'm not so fresh. If you remember, there was a wedding in the hotel the night before, so I didn't get much sleep. And yeah, I was already, I was tired, not just physically tired, but tired of tournament and chess and everything. It was the last round. The position is drawish, so I don't usually offer draw in these kind of positions. I always fight for a win, but given the circumstances, I offered the draw, and she immediately declined. So she knew she was better, and she wanted to try to outplay me in the equal end game. Okay, so she took with the knight. I went knight to b3, knight to b6. Knight to c5, so we are improving our pieces. Now okay, I'm hitting the pawn, and she has to defend the pawn. And here, okay, I'm happy with my pieces, with my position, so I will just expand here on the king side more. So I will just expanding on the king side and hope for something. She went knight to c4 here. This is the outpost. And now she's hitting my pawn, and one way to defend the pawn, very effective, is to play a4. So now if she takes, I can take with the knight. And also you can see that this pawn is kind of hanging. So yeah, if she does something like this, then maybe this pawn is potentially hanging because it's attacked twice. So I played a4, and here she made a mistake. The best move was just to push on b4, but she took the pawn, and I took back. And now the computer evaluates this position as +1, and you will see why. So white is now has a slight advantage in this position, and this is exactly because of this pawn, which is difficult to defend, and yeah, this pawn is a weakness for her, and my pieces are slightly more active. My king is closer to come to the center, so it's already an advantage, and you will see why in a few moves. So now she plays a knight to e3, trying to activate her knight, and I played a knight to c5. And now, okay, she can exchange, try to exchange this pawn for this pawn, or she can try to save this pawn. And yeah, this is tricky, because if she plays the pawn here on a5, I can maybe come with the bishop here. It's now this square is available, and maybe push my pawn and work around winning this pawn. It's not an easy decision to do. So she decided to play knight to c2, and now I took this pawn with the bishop. She takes, I take, and now she takes. Now we eventually traded this pawn for this pawn, but you can see that now you can see my advantage. So I can play for the promotion of the a pawn. My king is very close to the center, so her pass pawn is not so strong as my pass pawn, because I'm here. My king only has 2 moves, and the king is in the square of the pawn. And well, my king is in the square of the pawn. So her pass pawn is not so strong, while my pass pawn can be very strong. And she has to play very carefully not to allow me to promote the pawn. So at this moment I have the advantage. And here I forgot one very important principle, and that is to, when you have the knight and the pawn in the endgame, the knight belongs behind the pawn. Because if the knight is behind the pawn, then she cannot capture the knight with the king, because the pawn will just promote. So in the next move I gave up my advantage, because I played knight to c7. So this knight will always be in front of the pawn. You know, this pawn can go, but the knight is in front. And also she wants to bring her king to stop the a pawn. And now with the knight on c7, it will be, she has a tempo. So she can come here, and now she has a tempo. I have to move my knight, and then she can, you know, make another move forward. So this is the problem with this move, which gives away all the advantage. So the best move here would be knight to b4, just remembering that knight should be behind the pawn, and now knight is supporting the pawn from behind, and it's very difficult for her to keep this position. So yeah, I had advantage for a brief moment, and now I don't, and I know why, so it's okay. So now she, I was looking that she might maybe, you know, fall for this knight to e2 fork. So knight to e2, forking king and the pawn, and then she wins the pawn. But then her knight is too far away, and the king is too far away, and I can just march with my pawn. Actually, the engine says even this is equal. So if she played here, for example, here, so the engine says this is equal. White cannot win here. But I thought at that time I'm almost winning, because yeah, it's equal, because her knight can come with a tempo, and here I would have to, you know, attack the knight. So she comes here, again threatening this pawn, so I have to defend it, and now she can bring her her king and also her knight very quickly. So yeah, I thought this would be losing for her, and she thought this as well, obviously, because she didn't play this move. She realized that this pawn and this king are too far away, so she just played king to f8. Now I'm bringing up my king, she's bringing her king, I'm bringing king up, and now she plays knight to c6. I play a4, you know, pushing the passed pawn, and here king to d7. So this is the position I was talking about, the situation I was talking about. Now she's moving the king forward with a tempo, so this is why the knight should be here on b4. So I have to retreat my knight on b5, and now she plays knight to a5. Okay, blocking the pawn. Now I have to bring my king in the game, king to d4, and here I think there was a chance for a draw by repetition, somewhere around here. So she delivers check. I went king to c3, and she went knight to c5. Okay, and now if I would go, you know, king to d4, yeah, she would probably repeat. I don't know what is the better move. I mean, she can try to defend, but it could be very dangerous, you know. I could just check here. If she goes here, I can check and then win the knight and so on. So it's dangerous. So I think that if I would here, if I were to play king to d4, it would probably lead to repetition. At least this is what I was thinking about the game. And then I was thinking, okay, do I want to draw here? And I decided no. I thought that I was winning. You know, I have my pawn here, and I can bring my king near to support the pawn, and you know, my knight can support the promotion square and so forth. So I was thinking that I was winning here, and I didn't want to be, you know, chicken and play for a repetition in the position which I evaluate as a winning position. So this is kind of my rule, you know. If I think the position is winning, then I play for the win. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So yeah, here I was wrong. According to the engine, everything is equal, but I thought I had winning chances, so I didn't go for the win. Instead, I went to this king to b4, and now she played knight d3 check, winning the pawn. But I thought it's okay to give up the pawn, because I will promote sooner. So king to a5, and now again she didn't take the pawn. So she was again afraid, because if she took the pawn, I think the engine says everything is equal, but if she takes the pawn, then I can come here, and I'm very quick to promote. So she didn't take the pawn. Instead, she played she brought her king up, king to c6, and I played a knight to d4 check, king to b7. Okay, and this was now my last decision. What do I want to do in the game? Do I want to play for a draw or not? If I wanted to play for a draw, then the best move would just be knight to e2, holding the position together, and yeah, we can just jump around. She cannot make any progress in position, and neither can I. So this would be a drawing move. Yeah, instead I wanted to play for the win, so I took the opposition, and I was hoping that I will be able to promote the pawn, because I have this check, and now this knight here would promote this square, and I thought this could be even the checkmate, or I had checkmate pattern ideas, or just promoting the pawn. So I let her take the pawn, and she didn't. She played g5 here, which is a dubious move. And she's just, okay, I understand. I mean, she wants me to take the pawn, and then she takes this pawn, and then she can bring her knight back to the game. Because she cannot bring the knight to the game via c5, because I'm controlling, so she wants to do it via e5. So it's actually a good move. The engine thinks it's dubious, but it's more or less equal. Here I push the pawn, a5. So and this is where I got things wrong, and I mean, it's still not losing, but I didn't see the resource she had. So I was thinking, okay, take the pawn. I don't care, I will just push the pawn, and then I will come with my knight, and I will either mate or promote the pawn to a queen. So she took the pawn, I played a6, she went king to a8 in the corner, and now in this position there is one last chance to draw, and this is just, to block this pawn. So just a knight to f3, and both of her pass pawns are blocked. This pawn is protected, so this is holding the position, and this is draw. But still I wanted to play for the win, and I was thinking here about her resources, and I was thinking something along these lines. So I played here queen to b6, and this loses the game. So what was my idea here? I was thinking that after she takes, so knight takes c5, I can jump knight to b6, and now I have mate in 2. So if she just goes pawn grabbing, then a7 is coming, and this is mate. I just need to, yeah, this is just mate. She cannot stop it. So these was my ideas. I thought that maybe she can try this check, but then in that case I'm just attacking the knight, and she either moves the knight or gets checkmated. For example, if she moves the knight, then I play a7, and I just need to support my pawn, and then deliver checkmate. I can deliver checkmate on this square or this square, and my king can be on this square or this square. So I have plenty of options. I could move my king here. I can play with my knight, and she cannot protect both of these squares and this square. So it's just the pattern I saw. But here I missed one very important resource. I was calculating these few moves he had, and I just didn't see this knight to c4. Now the knight is protected, and I cannot keep my king on b6, and I cannot keep my king on a6. So all checkmating ideas are over here. So this was the final blunder. Yeah. So in this position, I didn't see that she has this and controlling this. I was just looking at this. Okay, so I lost the game very, very quickly. So I played knight to b5 here, hoping for something. She played knight to c4 check, and now king to c6, f3, and she'll just promote. And here I resign the game. Okay, so well, interesting game. I managed to turn disadvantage in the opening for the advantage in the end game. So I guess I played some good moves. I had some good ideas, and then, well, first of all, this theoretical mistake idea that knight should be behind the pawn when you want to promote the pawn. So this was the first mistake in which I blew up my advantage, and then just calculation blunder oversight. I just didn't see that she has this knight to c4 as a defensive resources, which takes away my mating pattern and mating combination. Okay, and this was it. So the tournament is over. I had 2.5 points out of 7. My rating performance was so-so. I think I got like 2 FIDE rated points, so I didn't lose any ELO points. I gained 2 points, so it's okay. Nice experience. I had some good games. I had some good positions. I had some instructive moments. So I think it's. I'm happy that I went to this tournament. I'm not sorry by any means, and I'm looking forward to the next tournament. My next over the board tournament is. I think it begins like in 20 days from now, so it's mid of the June. So I will play in Split in my hometown. If you remember, I already played a Split Open tournament in Split. It's on the Adriatic Sea, so I will be playing. It will be 9 rounds, FIDE tournament, 90 plus 30 long term. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next tournament, and I hope I will be able to apply some of the things I have learned playing this tournament. And well, I will, if not sooner, I will see you when I will be analyzing my over the board games in the next tournament. Thank you very much for watching, not just this video, but the whole series, and stay tuned. I will see you soon. Cheers.